All right. Next topic we can get into is Tank Davis. And, I did a short the other day and put it out on YouTube because I thought Jake Paul, you know, was I thought it was very underhanding, with the message that he had for Tank Davis. And, and so I didn't necessarily, I didn't like it. I didn't think it was right. And some are like, well, LenOxe, that ain't your situation. Why you worried about what they got going on? I get all that. Like, first and foremost, me, I'm a Tank Davis fan. I've attended Tank Davis fights, and I got videos and pictures of some of his earlier fights I was at before he became a huge, huge, huge name. He was starting a bubble during his time. And so I support him. We're both from the DMV. So he is a DMV brother from Baltimore, from VA. So, I love him for that. But then more than anything, um, I see a man, I can't say a young man, he's a grown man, that still, when you're in those late 20s, and early 30s stage, of course you're a grown man, you're mature, so we're not condoning any of the actions. There's talk and allegedly some evidence of, um, abuse, allegedly with girlfriends, or being physically abusive and things of that nature. And there was a video in the past, I believe it was like at some game or something, where people kind of saw his temper, and I'm not condoning that at all. That's something that um, you know, Tank got to fix and address in terms of keeping his composure with dealing with women. And it's tough, you know, um, not making no excuses, but some women out there will say certain things to you, man, that make you really, really, really think about. And in cases, as we know, women end up getting, physically abused either by things they do, because sometimes they are not only just verbally but physically abusive towards man first. But verbally can say some things that can really cut at a man's heart, um, and pride, and just self esteem, and just who a man is, period, and say some things that can be very spiteful and disrespectful. And again, I'm not condoning that because you know, two rights don't make a wrong. All women, I'm not, and this is not generalizing all women because I know this ain't all women, but there is two sides to the story, and when it comes to domestic situations, there's always two sides. But at the end of the day, there's a responsibility as a man that we have to um understand, our position or hierarchy when it comes to women, specifically physically. And Tank, being a boxer, you you already got an advantage, so, but I still believe in Tank. I want to encourage Tank to continue to work on himself. I want to encourage Tank to don't worry about the females. Leave them alone right now. You converted over to Islam. Focus on getting closer in your religion, getting better as a man, spending time with your kids. If you got to go through the legal system to get uh, that legal situation to get custody or visitation with your kids, do what you got to do in that realm, but work on you, whatever that may be. Work on you. Some people say it's counseling. It could be just getting more into your religion and linking with older, wiser man within your religion that can be a good guidance for you, man. But just focus on yourself, man, and better yourself. I'm not gonna kick him while he's down. I'm seeing a lot of commentators and people talking about him. I saw the post by Jake Paul. It really threw me off because in his post, he said Gervonta Davis is an actual walking human piece of garbage. Working with him is an absolute nightmare. The unprofessionalism, the bizarre requests, the showing up late to shoots. I'm going to end it right there. It was a longer post. Where he lost me at was when he said it was unprofessionalism. Now, he's the promoter of this fight. and chose to fight Gervonta Davis, knowing Gervonta's background and things that he may have already have going on legally. So you chose that. But to come out and call him unprofessional, but you make a statement publicly saying that he's a walking human piece of garbage, how professional is that? So that really disturbed me because to me that's a whole nother gambit right there. And Jake Paul gotta understand. And I don't want to jump the gun with this, but I'm just gonna say it because it need to be said. That's sensitive, Jake. You're a white man. You're a white man talking to a black man like that. That's sensitive. In the same way, if I came out and said something disparaging like that towards a white man or somebody of another race, some people of that race, and I'm sorry, y'all, I'm telling y'all, they cutting up concrete, so I'm sorry. But some people of that race may look at that, not saying you can't say nothing to nobody of another race. I'm not saying that. I'm saying what you say and how you say things is important. In this case, when you're talking to a black man as a white man, saying he's an actual walking human piece of garbage, that can kind of be taken a lot of different ways, Jake. So you got to be careful. Now, if you don't like the unprofessionalism, you can say that. Hey, guys, the fight's off. Working with Gervonta and his team has been a lot. It's been tough. There were some unprofessional circle instances that came across that we just didn't feel like would be beneficial to the fight moving forward. And so we're looking for another opponent. We wish Gervonta the best, but we have to part ways. Like you can do it like that. To come out and say he's a walking human piece of garbage, that's very spiteful, which means a lot of money has been lost. That means a lot of money has been lost. When you say that a lot of money was lost in this situation. And I get it, Jake, you know what I'm saying, the money side of it, but I thought it was a lame move in my opinion. And I mean nothing to you. You Jake Paul, you got all the fans, all the money, all the glory, all the grace, all that stuff, man. So it is what it is. But in terms of a number one man talk, no matter what your color is, as a man, you don't say anything public like that to a man unless you really trying to get down like that to a man. Even if you disagree or don't like something, you check that man behind the scenes. You don't take that public. But to make a comment like that publicly, as a white man to a black man, that can be perceived a lot of different ways. And again, y'all, I can flip it and put myself in his shoes. If I say something a certain way towards a white man, it could be perceived differently. So I'm not trying to make this a race thing, but you got to understand the climate we in and where we are. We're in America. And I know everybody want to think that the past don't mean nothing or whatever, but it does. So to Tank Davis, hold your head, man. It can be a learning lesson for a lot of young people. That's what Shift the Coach is about. We're gonna touch on topics that can be learning lessons for us. We're not gonna be kicking people while they down. We're gonna try to do whatever we can to shed light and create a positive spin on it. Tank, whether you see this or not, somebody on your team see it or whoever, y'all share it with them. But this ain't no fraud or no fake over here. Like I've been a fan. I got video footage and photos of some of your earlier fights that I went out and support you when you was fighting in Baltimore before the big fights in Vegas or before the big fights in ATL and all that. When you was in Baltimore, man, bringing it to your hometown. So nothing but love for you, man. But focus on yourself, man. Lead on women alone right now. Build yourself up.